and the heroine are eating dinner when they see Mr. De Winter.
Oh, that's Max the Winner. He lives at Manderley. He can't get over the death of his wife. She died last year. Oh.
They talk, and Max De Winter is surprisingly nice to the heroine. Mrs. Van Hopper then gets the flu, so Max De Winter and the heroine spend time together driving every day. But Mrs. Van Hopper gets better and decides to go to New York. The heroine goes to say goodbye to Maxim.
Marry me, you idiot.
Okay, I love you.
They leave Mrs. Van Hopper and get married. After their honeymoon, they go to Manderley, his home, which is a famous mansion. Once at Manderley, they meet all the servants and workers. This is where Mrs. De Winter meets Mrs. Danvers, who gives her a big loan. The next day, Beatrice, Maxim's sister, comes to visit.
You're a lot different from what I expected. You're very different from his last wife, Rebecca.
Maxim and Mrs. De Winter go on a walk on the beach. Jasper runs away, and Mrs. De Winter follows him.
Don't go over there. Just let him be. You don't need to be there.
She then finds Rebecca's cottage on the beach. Frank, Mr. De Winter's agent, tells Mrs. De Winter that Rebecca's boat sank, and they found her body 2 months after that.
It was very sad.
Several months later, it was time for the annual Manderley Ball. Mrs. De Winter comes down in her costume, but Mr. De Winter yells at her and tells her to take it off.
Go upstairs and take it off right now.
It's okay. He's only mad because Rebecca wore that same dress last time.
You told me to wear that dress.
Yes, and you deserve it. Now jump out that window and kill yourself.
Rockets go off, signaling a ship has crashed on the shore. Mrs. De Winter goes down to the beach to check it out, but returns to Manderley soon after. The colonel then tells her that they found Rebecca's boat at the bottom of the sea, and there was a body in it.
Oh, I am so glad that Mr. De Winter was not here to hear this.
Maxim then came to talk to her.
I killed Rebecca. I never loved her. It's her body in the boat. Now please tell me you love me.
I love you, and I'm very relieved that you didn't love her.
They then have a trial over Rebecca's found body and determine her death as suicide, since they found holes in the bottom of the boat. Fauvel, Rebecca's cousin and lover, shows up at Manderley.
Look at this letter Rebecca wrote me. She couldn't have committed suicide. I think Maxim killed her.
Prove it.
The colonel tries to check Fauvel's claims and finds Rebecca's schedule and sees that she had an appointment with a doctor on the day she died. The doctor tells them that Rebecca had cancer and months to live, so they assumed her death really was a suicide.
She had cancer. Okay.
On the way back to Manderley, Frank tells Mr. and Mrs. De Winter that Mrs. Danvers packed up and left. On their way back, they then see that Manderley is on fire.